giant robots smashing into other giant robots.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Giant Robots Smashing into Other Giant Robots podcast, where we explore the design and development of great products
and business of great products
and business. I'm your host, Sami Birnbaum, and joining me today we have
Will Larry, your other
Oh my God.
thoughtbot, just the other host.
Oh, we are professionals today, folks. And I'm Chad Pytel, one of the other hosts of Giant Robots Smashing into Other Giant Robots, the podcast that's going into your ear holes right now.
Yeah, we don't develop software like this. We tend to do that like with a little bit more structure and resilience than we're currently podcasting. But
we still have fun with it.
Yeah, we do. We do have fun.
Yeah.
Nice to see you both again. How are things?
Things are good. Since the last time we recorded, we started actual development on the product that we discussed, Ready, Set, Go. And we've been live streaming on Fridays. It's fun to have that to work on. And in a couple hours, I'll be doing it again. So we have a working sort of basic coding agent that generates a Rails app using suspenders, installs Rue, and builds out a feature set using test-driven development. Last week, we layered on the test-driven development, and we sort of struggled to get it to do what we wanted in the way we wanted it. So that's what we're going to be focusing on in this week's stream, is revisiting that and really focusing on that red-green refactor TDD cycle and getting the agent to do it independently and consistently.
Are you doing a custom agent with that, or are you using another one?
We're using Anthropic's APIs,
Okay.
but we're building the local client in Ruby.
Sweet. Okay.
That's cool. Well, I had a Lord on the podcast at my last recording. I was so excited, but I played it cool. So I did that thing. I don't know if you ever met famous people where like internally you're like jumping up and down with excitement, but externally you're trying to play it cool like you're one of them. So that's what I went with. I'll let the listeners be the judge of whether I pulled it off or not. But really, really special individual, and had a really great chat with him.
That's great. And I know you had been trying to get him on the show for years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah,
2 years. 2 years.
So congratulations on finally making that happen.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been convicted for stalking. And there's like, there's a restraining order which was placed on me, but that is the commitment that we put in to getting our guests.
Yes. Speaking of that, what is for some people that may not know, what is a Lord?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So in the UK, we have, I'm going back to my politics A level, we have 3 houses. We have the legislative house, the executive house, and the judge house or something. So the House of Commons is where you have the elected officials, and the House of Lords is where you have people who the country have just decided should be lords for their achievements or things that they've done. So they're non-elected officials, and they do have some power in the lawmaking process. So in this scenario, Lord Chris Holmes, who I was interviewing, has presented a private member's bill about regulating AI. And that is so the House of Lords, the Lords, they can present bills, attempt to introduce bills into Parliament, but it has to go through like a long process. So it'll go through the House of Lords, be refined, and eventually it might make it to the House of Commons. So we were talking about that, but mainly for me, it was just about like rubbing shoulders with the elite. I don't want anyone to be under any false like pretend like of what I was there for. But it was great.
Who cares about AI, huh?
Exactly, but really, really special episode, and yeah, really, really enjoyed it. It was a great chat.
Cool. What about you, Will? What's your update?
Oh wow. I've been I think this is my first time actually a couple times doing design sprints. So I've been doing that for um like a I don't think they're exactly a nonprofit yet, but it's to give back to the community. And that's been very fun. So yeah, that I have some personal stuff that I've been doing. Like I'm switching my kids over to a new school, so that's been a lot. It's been a lot of when you have 4 kids and 3 of them are in school, that's a lot of moving parts. So I did that, and we are buying a new home. So we're going to be moving. So I'm going to be changing this up soon.
Wow.
So yeah, a
Are you
lot.
moving far?
Oh no, like 20 minutes down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But
Cool.
those are
Congratulations.
the worst moves to me because you don't pack everything up in the truck. It's like let's just take a load over here one day and that. So I'm going to try to be strategic and not do that and just pack it up in a truck and at least probably 1 or 2 loads.
I mean, with 4 kids, they should be able to do the move, right?
Yes, they're going to be working. Trust me, with their toys, because every time we move, we like throw out a ton of stuff. But they are anti that. They're like, no, 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 no. I haven't seen that
Yeah,
toy in
kids
three
are the worst.
years. Yeah. Well, yeah.
We have that in my house. My kids, and
It's a thing with
yeah.
kids. It's a thing with kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the
It's the
problem I
worst when
have
you go
is
to it's the worst when you actually go to the place to give away the toys, but then they're crying and like having a fit, like, no, you just lost my best friend. Don't give him away. Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing, but sorry to cut you off, Sammy.
no, it's good because my kids will actually go to the bin and they'll find things, the trash can, they'll find things in the dustbin that I've thrown away of theirs. So we've like, I don't know if your kids or you remember this, Chad, when your kids were younger. In school, they will do lots of arts and crafts and
Mhm.
they'll bring those home. So the rule is it kind of can stay in the house for a week and then everything goes in the bin. So like a new week is going to be your fresh arts and crafts from school. And so they will go to the dustbin and they will find the arts and crafts that I've thrown away and pull them out of the dustbin, which is pretty drastic.
Do you keep anything?
We do. So it's very we keep things that have their photos on. So only if
Mhm.
they have a picture of them. And this rule worked for a while, but now we're reaching maximum storage
Yeah.
for like those sorts of things as well. So it's a problem.
I need that rule because I am getting overloaded with art art stuff. Like, because it started with my daughter. She was in kindergarten and she was having a hard time at school. So every morning I draw her a picture. I'm not an artist one, so that was a lot harder. I've been trying to do it, but sh- and trying to come up with a new one, new animal or something every day so you don't do it over again. Yeah, it's a lot. And actually, so promoting thoughtbot, I do in our notebook that I got from the store. So she carries it around with her at school and stuff. But yeah, I need a way to clean it out after a week or something. It's getting a lot overwhelming.
Yeah, that store is great. I visited that Thoughtbot store quite a bit recently. It turns out that Thoughtbot made a massive mistake and gave employees 100% discount. And so I'm kind of just building up my wardrobe slowly over time.
Just enough to not slowly over time, not enough to flag it so anyone will notice, but
Yeah. Just stay under the threshold. I mean, you've got your basic stuff, like you've got your t-shirts, and then there's this jumper, which is great. But they've also got socks as well. Although they might not be on the store, they're from the old swag merch. But over
Mhm.
time, I've kind of got enough to get me through the day,
Yeah.
which is
You
really
call that
cool.
a jumper?
Yeah, a jumper or a hoodie
Oh,
or
I've
yeah.
never heard that before. I like it though.
Oh, what would you call it?
A hoodie or pullover.
Okay, hood
That
pullover.
one's not necessarily pullover because it zips, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you also don't really use the word sweater. So you would call a sweater a jumper too.
Yeah, everything's a jumper. Everything that goes
Right.
over a t-shirt is a jumper.
Oh,
And
I like
pants are not pants. That's But go on, Chad. So you wanted to hit us with a topic.
Yeah, like I said,
on.
I I didn't think we were going to do the full intro and everything before, but there's something that I'm a little fired up about. Like I said, I'm not sure I'm prepared fully to talk about it as a topic, or that you guys want to. But it's something I started writing about yesterday, and it's a complicated issue. So I have complicated thoughts about it, but we are starting to see larger companies do significant layoffs and say it's because of AI. And I think that's bullshit. And I think they're using it as a convenient excuse to reduce their team size, reduce their costs, and that most engineering teams are actually too large. And yes, so that's my hot take. Do you want to talk about that?
I do. I do
Yes.
want to talk about it.
I have opinions on it too, so yes.
Yeah, I have some opinions, and I made a note. If I can segue into something else which happened with AI recently, I'll segue into it later. But for
You have a guest. Well, we just got our the moment from the BBC there.
Just like it.
I thought that was going to happen to me when I had the Lord on the podcast. I thought it was definitely going to happen. Yeah, look, let's. Well, are they using this? What I do understand. Are they using the excuse because it's a legal thing? So if you let people go, you have to give a reason.
No, you don't have to. U.S. is employment at will.
Yeah.
But what is the case when you give a reason like that, and there's a hype cycle, that also is one of the reasons why you would do it, because then, people might look at you favorably, like you're, on top of things and embracing the latest hype. So let me be clear. This isn't that I'm literally in a couple hours from now going to do AI development live stream.
I thought you were going to say you're going to go and do layoffs.
No. So there is gains there. It is changing the way that we work. Don't get me wrong. I think I would like to start with one of the things that I said as a premise, which is engineering teams are too big. Let's start there, because I think put AI aside from I want to dig into what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
Thoughtbot, we've always believed in a small team of people who have low communication overhead, who are really good with their tools, coming together and being able to do really good things quickly. And then what we see is, as teams, as companies grow, communication overhead increases, and that slows down progress, slows down velocity. So you add people to be able to make up for that, which slows down and adds communication overhead and bureaucracy and process, which makes you go slower. So then you add more people, and you end up then with engineering teams that are thousands and thousands and thousands of people big, being as productive as a smaller team actually potentially could be. So that's like, AI aside, that's a fundamental belief that I've had for a long time about what happens in companies and cultures and as they grow. And so again, AI aside, if you were to have one of those teams and to be able and say we're going to decrease the team size, there will be short-term pain and trouble from that decrease. But you will almost certainly, if I'm right about the way teams work, that smaller team will eventually be more productive, or as productive as the larger team was.
But
Yes.
I mean, that's what. Okay, so I think I agree with that in premise, and that makes sense to me. I'm going to quote a book or a theory that I've never read. Mystery Man Month. Is that
The
correct?
Mythical Man Month.
Oh, and I got it wrong, and now it's going to be clipped, and everyone's going to know I'm ignorant. But the Mythical Man Month.
Now
Which
you got to
is,
get the quote right because he's going to double check you.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's all I know really. Is I only know the name of the book. I don't know much more than that.
Yeah, the premise is throwing more people at a problem doesn't solve it any faster.
So
true.
I think alongside that premise, which is what causes this issue, is the underlying inability to measure productivity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We are so bad at measuring productivity, especially in this industry, I believe, and that's adding to this issue where it's like they might think they're more productive when they got more people because the way they're measuring it. And then when
Right.
they even reduce the reason they might think they're more productive, so they might think, oh, look, we're more productive because of AI, but that's a poor measurement. You might just be more productive because you have less people.
Right.
Less overhead. Yeah.
Yeah. So we struggle to measure productivity, and that's a separate issue, which I think there's this productive gains fallacy. That's my own term, so I'm going to keep it when it comes to AI and using it, which I think we've touched on a little bit.
So so that's one element of this. The other element is a team reduction. A lot of these companies are public, and have different, like some are profitable, some aren't. But reducing a team, cutting your workforce in half, and making these big, bold sort of statements, but then doing that is going to have a direct impact to your profitability, your bottom line. And so that's another reason why someone in an executive position would do this. And again, AI is a convenient excuse to say that that's the case, or that's the reason. And there's no way as a practitioner of this, as someone who uses these tools and who sees this permeating our company, we're not there yet. It's overstated about the productivity gains. Research has shown that it's overstated. And so it's just an excuse to put a spin on something that you probably wanted to do anyway.
So what you're saying is then, like, these big tech companies might not be honest and transparent, and they might actually be just trying to increase their bottom line and increase their profits without caring about the people they work with.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Breaking news. You heard it here first, people. Yeah, look, I struggle with the productivity thing as well. I think one important caveat which I've noticed recently, it depends on your level of proficiency. So I think we are blessed to be working with people who are experts at their craft and the tools they're using with. For someone who maybe isn't as proficient, it could be that you get a lot more productivity by using these tools. But like for a lot of people, the developers I work with at thoughtbot, we're really already there because of how we work, and it's not just about writing lines of code. It's the way we consult, and we decide what we want to work on, and we prioritize, and we use user-based research to work out what's actually going to give you value. And it's like sometimes you're being more productive by doing less.
Right.
And so just the way we work,
right.
We're pretty productive, and that's why I found AI has kind of slowed me down.
especially with the enterprise projects.
Hmm.
Some of the greenfield, like I know you're working on Ready Set Go. Yeah, it could do some stuff there. Like I've been on a green like a
Right.
um,
Well, and
proof of
because there's so
concept.
much low
Yeah.
hanging fruit there, everything needs to be done. And at the beginning stages of a product, there's a lot of just sort of boilerplate scaffolding stuff that goes. So
Yep.
AI aside, I feel super productive whenever I start on something greenfield because it's really easy to make significant progress and not worry about the 99 edge cases that you're going to need to worry about before you launch.
Yep.
And then you add AI into the mix, and now you basically have like Rails scaffolding on steroids, where you're just generating a bunch of code that's, would have taken a long time to write, but isn't necessarily special. It
Yep.
feels really productive.
Yeah.
And it is, more productive at that stage of the project.
Yeah.
But
And the
that's
chances of these companies doing greenfield, I'm guessing, is super low, unless it's
Right.
maybe internal or something, or like some research and
Right.
development. But most of these are enterprise
Right.
projects. It's been years and years.
Right. So
Yeah.
so there's another angle to this. There's which I want. This is why I say this is a complicated issue. It's easy to talk about it sort of in broad strokes and have sound bites, but it is a complicated issue because there's another angle at this, which you were getting at, Sammy, which is it is possible that the AI tooling and what it is enabling has exposed that half of the engineering workforce wasn't necessary, right? Like because the team was bloated. So this is why it's a complicated, because it is possible that putting these tools in the hands of the half of the workforce that is needed has exposed the idea that we didn't really need that other person. In the same way that thoughtbot people, by investing in our editors, in the tools that we use, becoming really good at RSpec and testing and everything, like we show that a team of 3 really good people can do a significant amount because we invested so heavily in the productivity of our tools. It's possible that with the AI tools have made it be possible, but so that's why it's while I think it's a convenient excuse, there may be like this grain of truth of down to it's something that they needed or wanted to do anyway, and maybe the AI stuff exposed it, combined with where maybe they have a vision of where things are headed. But
So for a company, because I feel like the the norm is mostly bloated teams versus not bloated. So how does that decision get made? Like whenever you made it, I know, we've been 20 plus years. When is that decision made to like, hey, keep adding people to the problem versus no, invest in your tools and product, I mean your tools and stuff, and get better? Like, so for you, what's your opinion on that?
yeah, I'll be perfectly honest, and I've never worked at a big company before, so
Yeah.
so part of it is making the decision from the start, and I think and as we've watched people grow, I think it comes from a reasonable place. Is you're trying to do more, and yet you're going more slowly, and part of it is what we were just talking about, that when you're first starting out with something new, there's a lot of low hanging fruit. There's not a lot in your way. You can move quickly. You don't need to worry about all those edge cases in the start. And so as you proceed after you've launched, after you're in the market, you do start to need to deal with some of that stuff. So it comes from a place of, we are going more slowly, we need to do more. How do we do that? Well, we add people.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like malintent. It's like, I totally understand why it happens.
Yeah.
But then I wonder if these decisions are sometimes made by people who aren't actually developers and don't have that knowledge or experience of how these things work. And
Oh,
that goes
I
the
think
same.
that's totally the case. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of these companies. It's executives who have an idea
Yeah, so
about
someone
what's
sits in
happening.
their ivory tower with like some sort of KPI metrics and says, right,
Mhm.
this is at 28%. I want to ramp it up to 77%. What's the best way to do that? Here's my hiring budget. Let's do that. And then the same thing goes probably for the layoffs, where it's
Right.
like, this is where my profit is, and this is where I want it to be. And AI makes sense. I know that's very simplistic, but it sounds a bit like you're saying, the issue was in the first place perhaps not needing to hire as many people. And that might have been something where if I was on a project as an engineer, and I've had this before when I'm working on a
Mhm.
thoughtbot based consultancy, the crypto app that I'm working on at the moment. At the beginning things were slow, and we had two developers on the project, and things were really slow. And the reason they were slow is because we had to do research around the architecture, because there was a lot of compliance issues about which providers we could use to trade cryptocurrencies. And actually what we decided and what we could do as a consultancy is we actually ramped down. We took someone off the project because it was a waste of time. We had two developers, but we only needed
Mhm.
really one to do the research. So we took someone else off, and we could always bring them back on later. But the client, actually wanted to add more people to try and speed things up. And that wasn't the correct answer at that point in time, because it wouldn't
Mhm.
improve productivity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? I feel like there's an undercurrent of AI taking over. Like, I remember, and it's been going on for a long time. Like, even iRobot, however many 20 years plus, been there to the
Good
new Mission
movie.
Impossible movie. Like, AI is taking over. Why do you think that has been? And I feel like this adds to it. Like, AI is taking jobs away from people. Like, be careful, it's coming for you next. Why do you think that is?
I think um, a lot of this is the way we work as human beings in a society. It's more of a psychological thing, where we jump on always to the next big thing, the next thing of promise, like the next thing of hope, or the next thing of panic. And as a like, I always sometimes imagine myself. Oh, this is going to sound bad. I sometimes imagine myself as a deity, as some sort of metaphysical creature from on top, who looks down at society and just watches them run from one thing to the next, and just get heavily involved in that thing. And it's like watching, in a society of like impulsive beings, where, okay, so AI is now the big thing. Before that, blockchain is the big thing. Whatever it is that's going on, and we seem to flock towards certain things. And then there's a lot of panic and hype, and all of those conflate to make people even more focused on it. Let's double down and go further into this thing. um, and I like to think that if you look at things over time, the same principles and foundations tend to remain the same. The same things that tend to breed happiness, health, success don't really change. Um, so I think that we flock towards certain ideas and
Yeah,
news
I like
sells.
that,
Like,
Sammy, and I think
Yeah.
to bring it back to thoughtbot, that's my sort of takeaway from this, and how we where our place in this is. And I keep on coming back to, at the end of the day, this is a tool that's going to make us, has the potential to make us better at what we love to do. In the same way that when we got really good at Vim and we're focused on that and became really productive with our editor. In the same way that when we discovered test-driven development when we were just getting started and we said, this is incredible, it changes the way that we build applications, but it is slower, but we believe in it. So we are going to build tools. We're going to get better and faster at it. And we're going to build tools and open source and everything that lets us work in this way and not be slower.
Yeah.
Not only does that make us better at what we do, but when we are out doing that, and especially if we share our work, then we build a reputation for being really good at our craft. And that helps our business. So I think these tools fall into that same category. And we should be doing that as people who love to the craft of what we do, to be constantly trying to find better ways of working and share that with people. That helps our business, but it also helps us enjoy the work that we do. And so I think that's what I've come back to with these tools is not only is there a business opportunity there to be researching, trying to find better ways of doing it, what the best practices are, and share that. I think that that's also important to being happy as a developer, at least for me. And this is very clearly the next category of things. Vim is done. Vim, we got the maximum productivity from our editors that we can get. Test-driven development, pretty standard. We've created a bunch of open source. We're really good at it. There's been other things along the way. Even Rails falls into that category in terms of something that made us better and faster about what we do. We got really good at it. We shared best practices. We and that built our reputation. I think that's the stage we're at with these tools, and we're doing it. We've got, I'm obviously live streaming. We've got our code audit, our best practices, our Claude stuff is all published. People are writing about it and using it, but we can do more, I think, and we can do more faster too. Like in terms of like really harnessing the collective power of our team and everything that the team is doing, and achieving really cool things together.
Yeah, but I think the most important part of that is like having those principles and those values, because everything will then slot into place because it always is there for the purpose of achieving kind of the goals which are set by those values or principles. So at the moment, like Will, you were saying, why is everyone is so much hype and like going after it? I think for some people the principle has become like the destination is to use AI. The principle is using AI. That is their value. I want to use AI to build. That to me is like not a value. The value is much broader than that, which is, can I build something that is easy to work with, resilient to change, and I'm productive getting there? If AI helps me to do that, great, we'll use AI. If there's a different tool like you spoke about, Vim, TDD, whatever it is, we'll use that to get there, but only if it's fulfilling those goals that we care about. And one of the most important things I've found is a code base that's resilient to change, because I've worked on code bases where you can't make a change. It's something like without tests, it's close to impossible. Which reminds me, I've been mentoring someone who is vibe coding a product, and I'm trying to guide them as much as I can in that process. But it's very much vibe coded, even though they're very talented. They don't really want to take the time, which I understand, to kind of learn programming languages and go deeper. There was a bug that came up yesterday on production where so let me see if you can work out maybe what this is. So you hit a URL, you make a request to a URL, and then the page just hangs on Google Chrome. So you're on your Chrome browser, and then the page is hanging. So the first thing I thought to do was to tell the logs in production. And I saw that the response was like a 200 for the returning of the page. And so there was no errors on Sentry, and we had profiling set up, and there was no slowdown there was like nothing was going on at the database queries or any, in the controller, there was nothing slowing it down. And what would in that situation, like where's your next place to look? And you're not on the Chrome browser, you're not seeing the page. You're not seeing it presented.
Is this a Rails app
Yes.
with a JavaScript front end or just standard HTML pages and Turbo?
JavaScript is being used.
Is it a React app or is
Yes.
That's why I said JavaScript is being used, but there's no framework. It's not React.
Okay.
It's using regular Rails views.
And is this bug happening when you're already on the app and it's working and you're going from one page to another, or is it typed into the browser?
When you go from one page to the other.
Yeah.
It might even happen on both, actually. Where would you look next? See, I'd never faced this before, where the page seems to be there.
Well, what I would look at, I would open the inspector and I would look at the requests in the browser and see what happens.
Is it being served up or not? Oh.
Yeah, but we couldn't open the inspector, it wouldn't work because Chrome was broken. It's like unresponsive.
Oh.
What?
Yeah. That was my
the only time that's happened to me was when I first started coding and I did an infinite loop. And
you might not be saying the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what you've got on Chrome is
infinite loop on JavaScript on the JavaScript, because if Rails is returning a 200, then it served the page.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we had to do is open up a separate Chrome window, disable JavaScript, then load the page, and the page loads fine. Mm-hmm. So I went to check the view, and it's like over 1,000 lines, and then multiple script tags and loops. And to be fair, I haven't actually worked out what the issue is, but just seeing like the contents of the view that had been vibe coded was shocking. I mean, there were loops with arbitrary numbers of how many times this thing should happen. So a lot of for loops of one number set was 22, one was 26. And I actually showed it to Rakesh this morning, one of our developers, like, what do I do? Like, there's an issue here. What do I do? And to be fair, he told me this is going to take days to work through and understand. You've got over 1,000 lines of JavaScript which have been written by a machine.
Was it? I'm curious. So it sounds to me like there's a lot of placeholders on this page. Like if there's arbitrary for loops with, like, it's just building fake data, right?
It's I don't think it's placeholders. I think it's animations. Well, I mean, they could be in the form of placeholders, but I think it seems like it's doing a lot of loops to create brand new elements. But I don't know how expensive this stuff is. Like, is there a time limit? So, like a request can time out. Like once the DOM is loaded and JavaScript is trying to do stuff, I don't know if there's a timeout there or... there's a lot of stuff going on.
With that, you have to throw a lot at Chrome to crash it that way. So it's probably some N1, like either infinite loop or something that's overloading it, like throwing Chrome into a tailspin.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is like what I would actually do in that scenario is I would delete half of the code, see if that works, and then delete the other half and
Mm.
see whether like put it back, delete the other. So basically, you do a binary
Yeah.
search to find the offending code as quickly
Yeah.
as possible,
Yeah.
and just keep on narrowing it down that way.
Yeah, I think that's the approach we're going to take. But it was interesting, like seeing how something with AI could get out of hand so quickly that you end
Yep.
up with like real issues where no one can understand the code, and we couldn't even really rely on Claude to tell us where the issues were, because it was definitely getting things wrong. So it was going to come down to human review, and human review is then expensive and takes a long time. And another point which also makes this harder, and this is where we talk about productivity with AI, because it was being coded with AI. Every PR or every deployment included thousands of lines. So normally, if we would ship in like small vertical slices, so we would ship. It's not really about lines of code; it's kind of smaller features. You would ship one small feature, and if you need to roll back, okay, that's what you lose for your customers. But here, a rollback is huge, and there's so many offending lines. So it's interesting to see the
Yeah.
other downsides to kind of AI development when you're missing those principles of maybe extreme programming methodologies. It's a
Right.
real challenge.
So I think proponents will say, and I don't agree with this, but I'm just that there's if you believe that eventually this is going to be good enough, then that doesn't matter, because you can just regenerate it all. Like you can just throw away and then regenerate it. So you got a bug, it's not working, throw it all away, regenerate it all.
It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. It's just nonsense. It's such high risk. I don't understand what you can't build a business on that level of high risk.
Yes,
You can't
exactly.
do it. There's no
Exactly.
stability. Yeah.
Other proponents would say, well, you don't know all of the code that's running your laptop, that is then running the database, that is running, like, you are already building on so much stuff that you don't understand. And all you understand when you're a developer developing your app is the thin slice of your application. So why is this any different? And then, so that I'm just playing like this is what people
I don't even
say.
understand the point. I don't even understand the point. Can you explain it to me again, please?
Well, because you're doing a lot of productive work to create things, to create businesses, to create applications where you don't understand the majority of the code that's actually going in
someone else
to what
does.
you're doing.
Someone else
Exactly.
does.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the point. And I'm only allowed.
No, the point, the point is wrong, but I'm just saying this is what people say.
The only reason
because
I'm allowed to build on top of those things is because of the way versioning works and stable versions. And therefore I know something is fully tested, and therefore I can rely on it. If I couldn't, then I would have to go and build the OS myself.
Yeah.
But that's also those trusted people. There's a lot of probably OSs that didn't make it out and not a business now. Like, I use a Mac. Like, I love it because it's very simple. It's one of them. There's a lot of them that didn't. There's a lot of browsers that went bankrupt because they're not trusted. So I think that's like the point that I would say is like, you build on trusted things. Like, that's interesting. I have a question, and it's the inverse of what they're saying. If they're becoming more, they're increasing their productivity, why are they laying off and not increasing their output as far as products? Because every tech company,
that's a really good point.
Every tech company has a list of things you want to do, products that you never get to. So why are they not saying, hey, we can even triple our profit now because we have these people and they're more productive, let's build our dreams. Let's just go out there and do all that.
That's an excellent point, and I think it underscores the actual reason why people are doing it, which is short-term profitability and
Yeah.
buying into the hype cycle in the hopes. So, like, Atlassian just announced the team reduction.
Oh wow.
Their shares are down something like 50% this year. That's the reason why they're doing it. They see the short-term solution to their shares being down to reduce costs, not to do more for their users and their products and make better things more fast.
Because they're not scared to do more. They have plenty of products, and I guarantee they have plenty more products they want to put out.
Yeah. Talk about an example of a bloated company that
Yes.
makes terrible software. Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just mention Jira.
Don't mention Jira. I can't do that again. What then? What do you foresee? Like, what's the outcome then? So all these companies, they lay off people. They say it's because of AI. Maybe they get a short-term profitability. Then what do? What happens next?
Well, like I said, I actually think that these teams were probably actually bloated as well. So they are going to get other benefits from this change. It's like, it's something that they needed or wanted to do anyway for profitability reasons, productivity, so I'm not, so I think in the long term, this is basically nothing.
Right.
Like it may be an improvement, it may not be. It doesn't really matter. It's like it sucks for people to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
But these companies were going to do layoffs anyway, eventually. I don't know.
And I've heard this, and I haven't confirmed it, but don't most of these companies just lay off people every so often? I know, like annually, or I know some do annually just for the profit portion of it. Is that just a practice that a lot
I
of
don't
these
know how.
companies do?
I do know that there is, especially with public companies, publicly traded companies, there is a lot of pressure to meet your expected results. And so when you don't, or when you're not going to, it can, cause you to do team reductions or other things. And so I think that there's maybe a certain cycle to that. I don't know that there are many companies that are doing it like super intentionally.
Okay.
Because I mean, to be honest, like, I think layoffs are one of the worst things that anybody has to do, even at these large companies where they don't really care. I think it's still bad and difficult, and they would, they don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with the layoffs. That's a horrible thing, especially because these are thousands of whoever, developers, designers, and that's just tough on them, their family. So yeah.
Boy, we're really ending on a great note here.
Yeah, this was a really nice upbeat episode, but I think I think it's really healthy to speak out about this and to actually say like what you really think things are, because I think there's a lot of people in the industry who just might not know, and then you believe all the hype and you get sucked into really what's going on.
Well, and that's what makes this complicated for me as well, is because I believe like both things can be true. We could be getting gains from AI tooling in our workflows, which I believe we are, and we should embrace as people who care about our craft. That can be true at the same time as the reason why these layoffs are happening is not because of AI. Both of these things can be true.
Yeah. I agree with that, because like one of my what I've realized with AI and the way I use it, I love coding, but with every job, there's things you have to do that is just not desirable, or it's not your strong suit or whatever. So like Katie understood this. She was like, I love surfing. I want to start a surfing company. And I was like, you do realize you're going to be doing zero surfing. Like you're going to be teaching, you're going to be in the water, but never surf. And she was like, oh, I was like, you're going to be doing spreadsheets, money, like all those types of things. Like, and she was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like that's not what I was wanted to do. So I think like AI has helped me in those types of things, like writing a blog post and then say, hey, do the grammar on it, make sure I have that correct, or those things like that. I think it has been that's what I use it to help with productivity. The things that are like, this is not my favorite, help me with this. So I think I totally agree with you, and I think it has a place. Like I think both of them are true.
Yeah. If like, are you okay not to judge me on what I'm about to say? Will you agree not to judge me?
Yes.
We never
'Cause
judge
I-
you, Sammy.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
I don't listen to half of what you say, so it really is not a problem.
Yeah, how can you judge me if you don't know what I'm talking about? Because two nights ago, I used AI to help me cook spaghetti because I just didn't know how.
Oh man.
Okay, I take it back. I'm judging you.
Well, it was really useful. I mean, it told me everything I needed to know. I knew the idea. I generally like heat tends to cook things, so I knew it was something to do with heat. I just wasn't exactly sure on the timings.
Okay, I'm gonna help you with that. Some different pasta have different timing. You got to get it right. You know, you want it al dente. You don't want it mushy. I can get on board with that. Different pastas have different timing. I totally understand that.
I didn't even know there were different types of.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
spaghettis. Yeah, I thought it's all the same thing. But yeah, that's where it shines: grammar and spaghetti.
Was it good
I have a-
spaghetti?
I have a point here, which is part of what's happening with AI is when you use it for things that you don't know about, it seems like magic. It
Yes.
could be completely wrong. And because you don't know about it, you don't know that it's wrong. And I think that's part of what
you mean. It doesn't go in the oven. Are you telling me that spaghetti doesn't go in the oven?
And I think that's part of what happens in these cycles of executives looking at something that they don't understand and saying, this is perfect, this is magic, this is amazing. And the people who actually know it are like, yeah, okay, it's okay. It's sort of like when you watch a movie about like computers or plumbing. There's a plumbing scene in a movie and you're like, oh, that seems correct. And the plumbers are watching that scene tearing their hair out because they see all the ways in which it's actually not real.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's
I think
why
that's part of what's happening too.
And that's why I brought up this example. It's not because I actually don't know like how to cook spaghetti. Obviously, I know, and I just wanted to bring it up to bring out your point.
Yes, thank you very much.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. Oh, go on. I was going to wrap it.
I was going to say, I think you said it perfectly, because double check your work. Like AI has had me on a trail of like, oh man, this sounds great. I didn't know anything about it. It sounds like what it was telling me. It sounded great. I got to the end of it. It's like, oh, I forgot to mention that will never work. And I'm like, what do you mean it won't work? We had this whole conversation about this. Like now I've taken the whole thing apart on my car and you're telling me that I have the wrong thing. What do you mean? So double check your work. Like I've had it to where I'm like, hey, help me with this calendar thing, schedule this out. And it had me like 3 days in the past. I was like, no, today's Monday. Like, why do you think today's Thursday? So I think you said it the best. Double check your work. And if you don't know about it, ask other people. That's what I would say.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today and listening along to this fantastic episode. How do we wrap up? Give me the first word,
Come
and
on.
I'll get.
You can ask
across.
AI.
I could actually give me the first word. Come on, what's the first word of the outro?
You
You can listen to us, or you can see more of us at giantrobots.fm, or reach out to us via email at hosts@giantrobots.fm. Yeah.
You got it. Come on. Yes. You can find us.
You can reach
find us.
me. You can find us at sammybirnbaum.com or get me on my LinkedIn page. And you can find Chad at
C Pytel at thoughtbot.social.
and Will.
And you can find me on LinkedIn.
And all the notes and transcripts will be available in the place that they're made available. Thank you for listening.
This podcast is brought to you by Thoughtbot. See you next time.
Oh yeah, Thoughtbot. We're the consultant. We'll help you out.
Wow.
Yeah.